She doesn't accidentally friend zone you. She categorizes you, and the category she places you in is rarely about looks. It's about emotional positioning, energy, behavior, the subtle, psychological signals you send without realizing it. In her mind, men are not just faces. They are feelings. They are patterns. They are emotional experiences. Right now, if you're in the friend zone, it's not because you weren't good enough. It's because you were emotionally predictable in a way that felt safe, but not stimulating, warm, but not polarizing, available, but not scarce. You became comfort without tension, and attraction cannot breathe without tension. Women don't consciously sit down and rank you. Their nervous system does it automatically, based on attachment cues, based on perceived value, based on emotional impact. The brain sorts you into categories within weeks, sometimes days: protector, entertainer, emotional support, potential lover, or safe friend. And the shift from friend zone to romantic zone is not dramatic. It's microscopic. Tiny changes in posture, in pacing, in boundaries, in silence. The first shift is emotional containment. When you're in the friend zone, you overshare. You overreact. You overexplain. You let her see all your emotional fluctuations in real time. You respond instantly. You reveal your insecurities too soon. Not because vulnerability is weak, but because unregulated vulnerability feels unstable. And instability does not trigger desire. It triggers caretaking. Romantic polarity requires emotional gravity. When you learn to contain your emotions instead of spilling them, something changes. You stop narrating every feeling. You allow silence to exist. You pause before replying. You stop chasing reassurance. You hold your center. From an attachment theory perspective, anxious energy repels avoidant or secure partners because it signals dependency. But grounded emotional containment signals self-regulation. And self-regulation feels powerful. She begins to feel that you are not trying to be chosen. You are choosing yourself. That subtle shift makes her nervous system reevaluate you. The second shift is removing unconscious approval seeking. When you are stuck in the friend zone, you are subtly trying to win points. You compliment too frequently. You agree too quickly. You laugh too eagerly. You text just to maintain relevance. You prioritize her schedule above your own. This communicates something beneath the surface. Your validation matters more than my internal standard. Attraction does not grow in the presence of imbalance. Women are biologically and psychologically drawn to men who have internal direction, who have preferences, who disagree calmly, who can say, "I don't see it that way," without tension. When you stop shaping your personality to fit hers, and instead allow contrast, you create friction. And friction is the birthplace of romantic energy. This doesn't mean arrogance. It means rootedness. You speak slower. You make decisions without seeking consensus. You end conversations first sometimes. You stop being hyper-available. And here's the psychological insight most men ignore. Perceived value rises when access decreases and emotional predictability lowers slightly. Not games, not manipulation, just controlled scarcity and self-respect. The third shift is redefining your boundaries without announcement. Men in the friend zone tolerate things they secretly resent. They accept late replies but respond instantly. They listen to stories about other men while suppressing discomfort. They become emotional support during her romantic confusion. And every time you overfunction emotionally, you reinforce your role as safe provider of comfort. Romantic interest requires a boundary that subtly says, "I am not here to emotionally subsidize dynamics that exclude me." You don't argue. You don't complain. You simply shift behavior. If she talks about another man in a way that disrespects your emotional presence, you gently disengage. If she flakes repeatedly, you stop rescheduling. If she only reaches out when she needs support, you reduce availability. Boundaries are not ultimatums. They are quiet recalibrations. When she senses that access to you is no longer unconditional, she becomes aware of potential loss. And the human brain is wired to respond more strongly to potential loss than to guaranteed presence. This is not about punishing her. It's about protecting your dignity. The fourth shift is cultivating mystery through restraint. When you're trying to move out of the friend zone, your instinct is to explain yourself more, clarify intentions, reveal how much you care, increase emotional transparency. But romantic intrigue thrives on unanswered space. Women often categorize men as friends when they feel they fully understand them too quickly. Predictability breeds comfort. Slight ambiguity breeds curiosity. You don't need to be secretive. You need to be layered. Stop answering every question with exhaustive detail. Stop narrating your entire day. Stop turning every interaction into an emotional processing session. Allow her to wonder about your plans, your ambitions, your inner world. Mystery activates imagination, and imagination intensifies attraction. The brain romanticizes what it cannot fully map. When she begins to think about you outside of direct interaction, that's when you shift categories. The fifth shift is embodying detachment without coldness. This is the most misunderstood principle. Detachment is not indifference, it's emotional independence. When you're attached to an outcome, she feels pressure, even if you never verbalize it. The subtle micro-tension in your tone, the way you linger slightly longer than necessary, the way you seek confirmation through eye contact, the way disappointment flashes across your face when plans change. Humans are highly sensitive to emotional pressure, but when you internally release the need for her to choose you, your energy relaxes, your voice steadies, your body language opens. You become present instead of outcome-oriented. Paradoxically, the moment you are genuinely okay with losing the possibility is often when attraction finally has space to form, because now she is choosing freely, not responding to your unspoken hope. Detachment signals abundance, emotional security, self-trust, and women categorize secure men differently than anxious ones. Now understand something deeper. The friend zone is not always permanent, but it is reinforced by repetition. If she has repeatedly experienced you as safe, available, predictable comfort, her brain has formed an associative pathway. To change categories, you must change the emotional experience she associates with you. That requires consistency in these tiny shifts. There is a subtle story that illustrates this. A man spends months being her emotional support, always there, always listening. He never expresses resentment. He never creates distance. One day, exhausted, he confesses his feelings dramatically. She looks confused. "I thought you were like a brother to me." Nothing changed for her, because nothing changed before that moment. Now imagine instead that over several weeks, he begins focusing more on his own goals. His responses become measured. He gently declines late-night emotional calls. He teases lightly instead of affirming constantly. He ends conversations first sometimes. He maintains eye contact slightly longer. He stops explaining himself. She feels something shift. Not loss, not anger, but unfamiliarity. Her brain rescans him. That rescan is everything. Attraction often begins not with intensity, but with re-evaluation. You cannot demand re-evaluation. You create it through altered behavior patterns. And here is where most men sabotage themselves. They implement these shifts for a week. Then they panic when results are not immediate. They revert to over-availability. They send long clarifying messages. They confess again. Consistency builds new perception. Also, understand that sometimes you will apply these shifts and nothing changes, because she genuinely sees you only platonically, and in that case your growth is still a win, because these traits are universally attractive across contexts. You are not shifting for one woman. You are recalibrating your relational identity, emotional control, boundaries, scarcity, mystery, detachment. These are not tactics, they are states of being. When embodied authentically, you stop chasing. And when you stop chasing, you begin filtering. That subtle inversion changes power dynamics completely. There's also a biological layer here. Attraction is influenced by dopamine and uncertainty. Predictable validation produces less dopamine response over time. But intermittent emotional novelty reactivates interest circuits. That doesn't mean you create chaos. It means you stop being emotionally linear. You introduce depth. Your conversations become slower, more deliberate. You hold eye contact without breaking first. You speak from grounded conviction rather than reactive excitement. These microsignals, communicate confidence more powerfully than any verbal declaration. And here's something uncomfortable but important. Sometimes the friend zone exists because you accepted it internally before she finalized it externally. Your posture, your tone, your hesitations. They revealed self-doubt. When you begin respecting yourself more deeply, she senses it before you announce it. Women are highly attuned to shifts in masculine energy because their nervous systems evolved to detect stability and strength. Strength is quiet. Strength does not beg for reassurance. Strength does not over-explain. Strength does not compete for validation. Strength chooses. If you want to move from friend zone to romantic zone, you must subtly shift from hoping to be selected to deciding whether she aligns with you. That psychological inversion changes everything. But here is the truth you must be prepared for. The goal is not to force attraction. The goal is to remove the behaviors that suppressed it. You cannot manufacture chemistry where none exists, but you can eliminate the energy that blocks it. And if, after all this, she still categorizes you as a friend, then your self-respect remains intact. You walk away grounded, not wounded, because the most attractive trait of all is a man who can desire deeply without losing himself. Think about that. You were never meant to audition for a role in someone else's story. You were meant to live in such alignment with your own standards that those who resonate naturally step closer. The friend zone is not a prison. It is feedback. Feedback about emotional positioning, about boundaries, about self-concept. When you internalize these 5 tiny shifts, something quiet happens inside you. You stop feeling desperate. You stop scanning her messages for hidden meaning. You stop overanalyzing her tone. You begin focusing on your purpose again. And ironically, that is when your presence becomes magnetic. Because peace is attractive. Certainty is attractive. A man who can sit in silence without needing to fill it is attractive. You don't need louder words. You need deeper stillness. Imagine the next time you see her. You greet her warmly, but not intensely. Your posture relaxed. Your eyes steady. Your life clearly full beyond her. You listen, but you do not overinvest. You share, but you do not unload. When it's time to leave, you leave first.